This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's pod. This is a show for the week of September 19th, 2022. This is another show with the fallout of D23, and if you are watching, you notice that we have a third person on this show, Ashley. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, and we're going to go and talk about her recent trip to the world, then our takes, as Phil has cleverly dubbed it, which I actually quite like. It's OUR, over, under, and rated. Walt Disney World snacks this week. I think I might have cheated in what I called a snack, but you guys have to listen to find out what I mean by that. We're going to talk about our DBC engagement, basically what the community's thinking on Discord from their biggest takeaway from D23. But first, Phil, what's going on in our Disney World this week?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I still think mostly people are talking about what came out of D23 or perhaps didn't come out of D23. Yes. A lot of people still kind of complaining about, even little things, we didn't get a date for the return of Fantasmic and, things like that. And Tron's not opening until next year. And Epcot's going to be another construction zone for another year. But I do think also there's been some shift in sort of focusing on the last part of the presentation where Disney got into the blue sky discussion about what they're thinking about, possibly, maybe, sort of, eventually.
That's what everybody's talking about,
yeah,
right?
That's it. To both Animal Kingdom, to what's currently Dinoland, and then what I guess they're dubbing Beyond Big Thunder expansion in Magic Kingdom. So we were talking about it on Discord. I thought maybe we could talk about it a little bit here. Just sort of what are our takes on this, and sort of we're starting to see people using photo editors and kind of overlay. Okay, well, here's how the construction could look. I have I'll tweet out a link, but from somebody, Tommy Hawkins, who overlaid where Moana could go and where Zootopia could fit into Dinoland. I've just been looking at maps of Magic Kingdom, and we're talking about how the heck are you even going to get to that area behind Big Thunder? So I don't know exactly the direction we want to take this, where we want to start with, but maybe I'll actually just start by asking Ashley, what did you think of this part of the D23 Expo, kind of as they were stumbling through their words and talking about this blue sky stuff very non-committally? What was kind of going through your head?
So while this was happening, I was actually having lunch at Sci-Fi. And then I was leaving Hollywood Studios to go to Magic Kingdom. And my friend, who is a cast member, we were both watching it on our phones, on the bus, trying to just capture everything and just saying everything we could out loud. But I don't know, Dinoland, it needs something. We got to do something with it. It's getting outdated. It's a ghost town when you go over there.
Dinoland's not a ghost town. I mean, does it need some help? It needs to be just bulldozed and basically this blue sky. That's basically what everybody was looking for. We want a Animal Kingdom. I thought in my prediction, we were going to get an update to a ride that they were going to put in there. Maybe not. Right. I wasn't expecting them to blue sky launch. What could replace it? Right. But here we are with a Moana and Zootopia theme. Everybody's talking about I think we're going to talk about this more in the engagement section, Phil. But for me personally, it's either this is never going to happen or it's already started. It's much closer than we think to breaking ground. There's no in between on this one. Yeah. In my opinion. Yeah,
I agree. I think that if they weren't going to update it, they were going to have to bulldoze it. And I'm kind of glad they are considering bulldozing it. I love Zootopia. I think it's an excellent movie. So if they choose to go that way, I will be excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, I just don't know, Phil, maybe you can, because you are a defender of the purity of Animal Kingdom, at least on Twitter, and on this show. And you've got a good point. I don't mind Zootopia and Animal Kingdom. That's a debate for another day, whether it belongs just as an IP, right? Mm-hmm. But as a design of the park, each section of the park is a section of the world, right? And even what it was potentially fantasy, in the Beastly Kingdoms, it was kind of a fantasy of dragons and unicorns and all this other stuff. what is Moana and Zootopia combined? What does that get us?
Yeah, we were talking about that today, and they really have nothing to do with each other.
No.
And maybe I'll just pause and say, for those of you who haven't seen this or hadn't heard about it, but yeah, this is the plan for replacing Dino Land or the bulk of it with a Moana area that would take over where like Chester and Hester's is. They'd basically retheme the spinner ride. Triceratops Spin would become this Moana theme thing, and then they'd have sort of like a mini Splash Mountain looking water ride. And then Zootopia, which they just sort of had in the back of the concept art. They didn't really give you any details other than we know they're already building Zootopia in Shanghai. So probably would leverage a lot of what they're doing for there. When people start overlaying things, the only spot really for this to be realistic is that Zootopia would go where Dinosaur, the ride, is.
That makes sense.
And just to give some, we're hearing some rumors. I was reading on WDW Magic. The idea is that this apparently is much closer to happening than the Magic Kingdom talk, and that there's a talk of doing it in phases. So they would do the Moana stuff first and then Zootopia later, with a goal of finishing the Moana stuff by 2025. Now, the way Disney builds, I don't see that happening. But just to your point, Jason, like either this isn't going to happen or they're ready to go. And it seems like that part, at least, they're kind of like, this isn't just blue sky. They're ready to go.
So here's my theory, right? With the behind the scenes of why it takes so long to build stuff, that type of thing. So we know that if Disney really wanted to, they can build a lot of this stuff quickly, right? Mm-hmm. We just probably got finished transitioning the whole company essentially to Bob Chapek's vision, right? He's now at the starting line of his reign as CEO. It's taken a while because of COVID, all this other stuff. Typically, it takes a year or two for him to get his people into place. So we've got new leaders, Imagineering. We've got new leaders in the parks and ops and everything else like that. So now they're basically scrubbing everything that was kind of pseudo planned to what they want to see. Whether they're envisioning nothing happening to the park for the next 10 years or something, like this is like where they would start. So to be completely optimistic in this, and I'm not optimistic, I'm more of a realist in this. I suspect that the first major expansion that's under Bob Chapek's name is going to be this. I mean, maybe not major expansion, but like a good addition to the parks, right? Mm-hmm. And yes, he oversaw Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but that gets attributed to Iger because he was in charge of the company at the time, even though he oversaw the development because he was in charge of parks at the moment. But he's now the ultimate decision maker, and I think he's going to want something to be added quickly. He does not want to be seen as somebody that adds nothing to the parks, where Universal Studios opens their giant gate. And that's mostly for the motivation from Wall Street, right? It's like, what are you doing to the parks? This is your cash cow. This is where you're taking all the profits from. What are you doing to bolster that for the next 5 years? Because Wall Street doesn't care about long term, but they really like 3 to 5 years outlooks for a lot of these things. So that's why I think they could build it really quick because they throw a ton of money at it. Am I crazy with this one?
I don't think you're crazy for it. And I think I kind of agree with the sentiment that like, okay, you don't think I can do stuff quickly. They got this down here. We're not building a fifth gate or anything like that, but here's a project that will add to one of our parks, be a new attraction. We don't have anything scheduled for 2025. Get that done. And we'll draw some people over here while they're coming down to see Epic Universe. To the theming, I don't know if Moana is a perfect theme for Animal Kingdom. No. But I do think, you can play off her connection with the ocean and kind of like mankind's connection to the ocean and interrelation with it, and how we treat the oceans or mistreat them kind of impact things and stuff like that. I think there's a way to make that work. And from a location standpoint too, it would go right next to the Finding Nemo theater, which, Finding Nemo is kind of in Australia. That's true. Moana's, it's kind of becoming like a South Pacific area, for lack of a better term.
That's a good point.
Then you have Zootopia, which is just kind of off on its own, and I don't see the connection. And yes, I don't think Zootopia fits Animal Kingdom because it's not about animals acting like animals and understanding their habitat and how they behave. It's using animals as a proxy for human issues and dealing with race issues and things like that. And even, Joe Rohde's been on record saying he doesn't think it fits. They had, when they were developing Animal Kingdom, a no pants rule. So any animals wearing pants don't fit into Animal Kingdom because they're not acting like animals. They're acting like people. So I don't think it fits. I'm going to be a total hypocrite if they ever build it and I absolutely will ride it if it's a great ride
for
and
sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
But I am on record that I don't think it fits.
So actually, my question is, we'll talk about the Magic Kingdom one in a second, but like I think there's a risk. No, actually, there's not a risk. So the only thing that got kind of filtered into the mass media was like, these pictures of like new additions to the parks, right? That's the only thing anybody ever talked about that aren't Disney fans, because they were on morning shows and like all this other type of stuff. So either Disney has to produce on some of these things, or they're going to look like whatever happened with this, because that's the only thing that got pushed to the zeitgeist. Like, oh, this is coming. And Phil, like last week, you said your friend Mike was just like, oh, this is amazing. I can't wait to go on this. Like, it's a surefire thing. There's no nuance when it comes to this. So actually, do you think Disney got themselves in trouble with this, or do you think they're actually going to come through like we're talking about by like 2025 with some stuff?
I feel like going back to your whole like Bob Chapek conversation, I think that Bob needs to do this because I feel like he is under such amounts of pressure to like get things done, and he's not. So I feel like building these lands and like following these plans through is what he needs to like gain respect from like his peers and the community. So I think that he will at least see some of it through. I don't know that he'd see all of it, like the whole villains, like you said in Magic Kingdom. We'll get to that later. But that seemed like it was like in the back of their mind more so than like the Zootopia and Moana thing.
I mean, I would play devil's advocate with you. I don't think Bob Chapek cares about the fans and the pressure to build new things at Disney World. I think he feels pressure where the money's going to come from, because right now that's a cash cow, right? They've made more money over the last year than they've made ever at Disney World, with less people but more money being spent, that type of thing. So if they want to keep that going, so they can get Disney Plus like up to speed where that's becoming profitable, they need to take money from somewhere, right? And they're not pumping out movies. They're not pumping out billion-dollar Frozens and Star Wars and Avenger movies right now. So the cash has to come from somewhere. And I think he's going to feel the pressure from Wall Street. I think that's what Chapek really only cares about is the Wall Street pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that too. He does. Yeah, he seems very money oriented.
Well, I mean, he should be. He's the CEO,
Yeah.
right? That's. I'm not faulting
absolutely.
him for that.
Yeah.
That being said, Phil, what do we want to do with Magic Kingdom? Because you think that one's more of that one seems to me like they threw some stuff together that doesn't make sense. They're like, okay, we have two Hispanic, type of Colombia and Mexico, so we're just going to stick those together behind Thunder Mountain, and then villains off in the distance.
Yeah, villains.
It does make sense to me.
Yeah, and again, for those of you who hadn't seen it, the idea is that the land that's beyond Big Thunder in Magic Kingdom, so sort of on the far side of the rivers of America, out by where the train goes, they would build that up into 3 mini lands. The first one being in Coco, the next one being Encanto, and then the last one being Villains. And it did seem sort of like everyone's honest. They want us to build something in Kanto, so we got to put that somewhere. And then, they mentioned they want Coco in Epcot. What if we do Coco here too? And then, there's always everyone's talking about having they should do a 5th gate of Villains. So let's put Villains in there too. And it definitely seemed like they were just listing these things to kind of get the crowd to cheer, which it worked. But I don't know. That would be a huge undertaking. The more I thought, we were just looking through where do you even get the pathways to like get people there? You'd have to, drastically change the rivers of America, or maybe you could squeeze people through on the other side of Big Thunder, on the other side of the train tracks. Do you come the other way and then have to somehow hide the show buildings for Haunted Mansion and Small World? It's great that they have this plot of land, and I think it's great that they're using the blessings of size, and it isn't let's replace something. This is an actual addition, which is great. But I think there's a lot that would go into actually making this a reality. So, maybe it is, down the road that this is 2028 or something like that. I don't know, but who knows? It's good that they're thinking about it, but I don't know if this will ever happen.
This is something that'll probably, if it ever happens, it's closer to the end of the decade than sooner than that. If not, it spills over longer. If everybody can go and do Google Maps and check out like the overview of Magic Kingdom. And we've said this before. I don't know how many armchair Imagineering shows that you and I have done, Phil. Like, I want completely get rid of Tom Sawyer Island, the riverboat, that type of thing. And I mean, you could easily put some stuff in there. Like you could maybe make the water in the front around Tom Sawyer's Island and just make that a circle and kind of do something with that. I don't know. But you could easily build a pathway that goes around Big Thunder Mountain and then a bridge to the other side towards Haunted Mansion. And then you could just basically remove the river, right? Or you can divert it off somewhere else. There's plenty of waterways that they can kind of, make canals to kind of connect them, that type of thing. And then you have basically a space of all of Fantasyland and New Fantasyland back there if you wrap it all the way around to the back of a Small World, right? Assuming they don't move a Small World somewhere else, right? So you can then tie it back in, and you can see like the entryway to Villains going through where either if you go so far over to where Gaston's Tavern is or where Enchanted Tales with Belle, there's kind of like basically remove the village house type of thing. Like right behind there's like a utility area. And you could totally make that entrance into another part of the park. I mean, like there's ways to do it, I think, without having drastically changed things. But that's a major, major endeavor. And it's going to cost many, many billions of dollars, not just for the rides themselves, but like working the land. It's not hard. I mean, it's not easy, I should say, for sure.
I feel like taking the Villains route, if they were to take the Villains route, that could help them when it comes to like Halloween Horror Nights. Maybe it could help them give Universal a run for their money. Maybe kind of make it an after hours more spooky thing than you typically get at Not So Scary, other than just like a party and trick-or-treating. Maybe you have the Villains out and you have a few of their what word do I want to use? Like their sidekicks, and have them kind of out and spooky and scaring and doing that kind of thing rather than just, a regular Halloween party.
I mean, but the only way I'll push back on you is I don't know if this is because it's the first year that it's back from after the pandemic. It's basically they're sold out every sold out. So there's no motivation to increase this, right? I would say it's on par with what Universal's doing, but it's just different audience, right? So they're still making their money hand over fist. Now, if that starts dipping in the next 5 years, maybe this is a way to kind of get people back into the swing of things, and they can make new offerings and stuff like that. But that's what Disney World is going to need in 2020, the back half of 23 into 24 into 25. There's nothing coming to the park, so there's really Disney loves like anchoring a season on come see the new this or come experience this. If there's no new experience, there's no excuse to marketing, and Disney marketing's been awful in the last year. I guess no fault of their own, but with the 50, maybe these are all their fault. And the 50th and stuff like that. Not the marketing department, right? I mean, they just haven't had anything to push. So I think something like this that's on the horizon is something. But if it takes them 20 years to build because Tron took them 6, then who knows what's going to happen with that. Phil, you wanted to add anything about like foot traffic and kind of fitting it up back there?
Well, the only thing I'll add is that there has been some chatter, and I don't know if this is just people kind of coming up with their own ideas or if they're hearing some of these, internally, these are things that they're talking about, but it apparently is on the table to significantly alter the Rivers of America. Probably not remove the whole thing, but removing maybe the back half of it and shortening it. So either the steamboat would just go around kind of the Tom Sawyer Island, the first part, not the whole big thing. There's also a plan of that they would actually not use the steamboat. It wouldn't move anymore. It would just be in one spot, or they would just get rid of it. And there would be bridges across, and you would kind of use Tom Sawyer Island as sort of your way to get to different places.
That makes sense.
So I don't know. There's a lot they could do, but like you said, none of this is cheap. Like it's a big undertaking, and it's fun to talk about. We love armchair Imagineering, but we'll see. I think everyone was like, "Why don't you just build, Encanto and Epcot or in Fantasyland or something like that?" I don't know if we need this, but who knows? But yeah, to your point, we have the marketing is probably one of the biggest reasons they push Tron into 2023. That's going to be their big thing. They market for 2023. You have the Moana Journey of Water and the rest of Epcot for the end of the year, and then you have Tiana's Bayou Adventure, just a retheme for 2024, and then like nothing, right? So I don't know. I mean, like we said, maybe they could do the Moana at Animal Kingdom for 2025, but they got to start getting some stuff going. Like you said, not even to compete with Epic Universe, just to be like, what's the big marketing push for 26, 27? They need something, and it can't just be like, oh, we rethemed this or we got a new fireworks show here or whatever. So.
So are we actually segueing properly into the DVC engagement segment, Phil? Did you just do that? That was amazing. I just noticed that as you're going through there. But first, before we do it, because that's you're talking about the future, what's going to drive. But the engagement last week was what is motivating you to plan an additional trip, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. Before we get into it, though, Phil, normally you would give our social media at this point, but I want to give Ashley this block to promote what she's doing, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. So what's going on?
Yeah, so I have a podcast. I usually do it with my wife. Sometimes I have special guests on. But I am Skyliner Views after the Disney Skyliner. On Twitter, it's Skyliner Views, trying to build that up. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Skyliner Views. And then, of course, on any podcast network, Skyliner Views. That's it.
Nice. And what is your show typically like? What's your format? You're just kind of talking about the news. You got specific things like
Yeah, we typically start out with news and like podcast updates and stuff like that, and then we just go into whatever topic we have. I am on Pop Culture Pros Network. I've joined a podcast network, and we go live every Thursday at 8:30 over on the Pop Culture Pros Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Awesome. I like that.
So,
Phil, we tried doing a live show once, but then nobody showed up, so we never did it again.
yeah, not very many people show up, but we still have fun.
That's it. I like that.
Well, and then I think we were still kind of new at it too, so trying to actually do the podcast, and I think a couple people showed up the first time and tried to answer them and read the questions. We're like, all right, we can't handle this.
Yeah, it was too much. But then again, with Phil and I's kids and everything running around, sticking to a live schedule and doing that would be almost a nightmare, I think.
Yeah, I get that.
So, okay, before we've got a couple Discord update, Phil, you want to give, and a new member. So let's give them some shout outs.
So quickly to our side, reminder of our social media accounts on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at the DBC Pod, our Discord server. And we wanted to welcome new member to our Discord server, Matt Blumenberg. Welcome to the server. And also, we have been in the process of restructuring the server. Discord has now added the functionality to have threads. So it's forums. Much more like they call them forums.
Yeah,
okay, so they have forums now. So it's much more like other chat forums like you've probably been on related to Disney. And I think over time it should be much more easy to navigate. If you're like, I want to talk about X. Okay, I know it's under this category, and here's the forum and the thread about that, rather than trying to find it somewhere in the middle of our back and forth banter. So hopefully, I think it should be good. We got some good topics going already that people are engaging on. It'll take a little while to get settled and stuff, but if you're someone who checked out the server and we're just like, I'm only checking in every couple of days and I have no idea what everyone's talking about, maybe, give it another try now that we have the new format.
Yeah, I mean, like it's really good in the sense that there is still a chat channel. So if you just want to type some chatty whatever kind of nonsense, whatever's in your head at the moment, there's room for that. You could just jump in. But all the discussions that would happen for like a 2-hour block when they got announced, and then they get buried that you have to scroll all the way up, or you jump in and then you just see like, you have missed 300 messages. You're like, I am not reading any of this. We'll skip into new. And you lose out on it, right? So now there's a traditional forum. I think everybody that's originally came to Discord years ago was coming from forums, right? So I think everybody knows how forums work, or at least the majority of people do, and it fits that kind of what are you going to call it? Format, I should say. So easier to follow topics around. Okay, so we're about a third of the way through it. So we're segueing. We're going to talk about our DBC engagement topic from this week was anything we talked about maybe some of the letdowns last week, but anything here that's actually motivating you to plan additional trips. So Phil, my simple answer was no. I mean, I'll elaborate. But Phil, you wrote some stuff because you're already thinking about it.
Yeah. I was thinking about, any takeaways. So obviously there's no big new thing that's going to come that I'm super excited for next year necessarily. But, knowing now that I'm not going to get on Tron when I go in December, I was kind of initially hoping I would, knowing that Tron will now be open in 2023, knowing they're bringing back some form of Happily Ever After. At some point, there's going to be a new version or new show at Epcot, and they're probably going to bring back Epcot Forever for a little bit. I'm kind of like, well, I'd like to do those things too. Now, whether I do them in 2023 or further out, I don't know. But it kind of made me think, rather than maybe adding on to my December trip to make sure, because I was thinking, well, if Tron opens, maybe I'll add hoppers so I can go back and forth and try to hit that a couple times. Now I'm like, you know what? We'll just leave the December trip as it is, kind of just a mini trip for 3 days. And then maybe in 2023, once we see the timing of everything, maybe we'll add a mini trip then as well to kind of, so I guess it's almost like splitting a trip into 2 smaller ones versus 1 bigger one. So it didn't necessarily make me want to, motivate me to like, oh my God, we got to plan some amazing like 2-week trip thing and we're going all out because they're adding so much stuff. But it kind of made me want to spread out my enjoyment a little bit, I guess.
We're about to get into your trip report, Ashley. How long was the trip that you just went on?
We were there for 7 days.
So it's like a good week there. Anything out of D23 motivating you to plan another week trip next year? I mean, were you going to do that anyway? So this is just like some new stuff that's cool, or were you thinking about skipping a year? I don't know what your travel habits are looking like in the years to come.
We typically go at least once a year. We plan on taking next year off, but I definitely think that Happily Ever After will play a factor into us going back. Our whole wedding was based around Happily Ever After, so that could be a contributing factor towards it. Other than that, no. When they started doing the rider testing for Tron, my wife texted me, was like, it's gonna happen, and I was like, God, I hope not. Like, I don't like being in those crowds. I will experience it after everyone else just so I don't have to deal with literally everyone else.
Yep.
So I am cool just waiting it out.
So for me personally, like, I try to get down once a year. And this is not motivating me for spending another big trip, right? I'd probably do like a weekend trip like I did last year and do like 2 days, stay off site, just go to see the parks. And I could see myself doing that. Like, once I know, Happily Ever After is out and Tron's out, I'll do like a little quick trip down there just to check it out. But I won't feel motivated to be like a family vacation where you kind of maybe not relax, but you spend a whole day in the bubble, like ease into it, that type of thing. But it's not motivating me spending a lot of money down there like my December trip, because that December trip is going to be a week-long trip as well. So there's nothing that's unless I get like, of course I'm going to get like the Disney bug. I'm like, I got to go. I want to go, but it's going to be for cheap. It's not going to be for big bucks.
I think our next trip we're considering staying on site or off site too. So
save some dollars. I mean, there's really no motivations for staying on site anymore, in my opinion. I tested out early morning hours, and the extra half hour gets you maybe a ride or 2 or 3 at Animal Kingdom if you just go right to Everest. But I don't really see the major pickup for getting there a half hour early, other than maybe getting on one ride a little bit sooner. Phil, what were people in the community say?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are saying kind of similar things. I thought there were some interesting comments from some people, especially some who maybe don't always go every year anyway. So Ryan W. commented a few things about it being a mixed bag for them. He was excited about some of the blue sky things, but short term, it's not enough to get him to plan another trip. And he mentioned they were thinking going next in 2024. But now if Tiana's isn't going to open until like the very end of 2024, and then if maybe some of this Moana stuff in Animal Kingdom does open in 2025, maybe now they push it off to 2025. So I think that's kind of the bigger thing is there's a lot of us are going to go every year anyway, right? Whether there was anything new or not. But for the people that are only go every 2 to 3 years, is there enough to get them to say, well, we just went last year, do we need to go again this year or the year following, or do we push it off maybe 3 years now and wait for some more stuff to come? So I think those are the people maybe more impacted. And then the other thing that some people mentioned was, Doxy said that it seemed like there was much more love for Disneyland, and we saw a lot more for Disneyland Paris and some of the Asian parks. And so there was chatter quite a bit for people, maybe tentatively planning a Disneyland California trip, saying, if there's not going to be a ton new at Walt Disney World, I haven't been to Disneyland California, or it's been a really long time since I've been there, maybe we'll do that instead. So, I mean, we're on a Disney podcast, we're on a Disney Discord, like people are going to want to go to Disney.
Right.
But it's more altering, I think, how they're going to do it, or maybe pushing things back a little bit.
But
it definitely didn't, very few people, I think, at least amongst our group, left that expo like pumped, right? Oh my God, I got to start planning a trip now. It's like, okay, there's some new things down there, maybe enough to plan a small trip, or maybe I'll do something different. but we'll see what happens in the longer term.
I think the question is, and you just highlighted the people that there's some major Disney fans that go every other year rather than every year, right? And let's say this year was their off year and they were going to go next year, but then they see Tiana coming up and Tron coming up and also it's like, does Tron really motivate you to get down there when you know that maybe Tiana's is coming up? So why don't I spend my $10,000 vacation or whatever, $8,000 vacation, depending on how many kids you've got going down there? Like, I mean, if you got small kids, Tron's not getting you down there. Right. So if you are either single and you're going down with friends, that's not a lot of money. Or if you are married without kids and it's just two people, just like how my wife and I went over the summer, it was just the two of us. That wasn't a very big check for like a nice 4 or 5 day trip. But with families, I mean, you got to really, if you know that you're going down every couple years, then I think you really have to play around with like the tempo of when you're going. How long is like, do I want to go and miss 2 years in a row? Do I want, I think that's an interesting way people might think about it, especially with the Genie Plus nonsense that's going around. It might be hurting repeat trips down the road. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So with that, maybe I'll just mention next week. This was actually a suggestion, and it sort of flows from this a little bit. But Doxy on the board mentioned, is the Disney brand at this point damaged, coming off of D23 and kind of just what's happened to everything with Chapek and kind of all the things with the news and the politicians and stuff like that. Is there, a chink in the armor that really Universal can maybe go after? I've seen some comments already from Comcast saying they've gained market share in Florida already and stuff like that. So is it that they're they're in trouble now, or are we maybe overplaying things a little bit? They're fine, and maybe something will happen down the road, but it's really they're fine. We just talked about how they had the most revenue like ever. So is it really a problem or not?
I've got thoughts, but obviously that's for next week. All right, so the main piece of the show is actually all about Ashley and her trip down there. You just heard 7 days in the world. Ashley, when we do trip reports here, I usually like to start off with why you decided on the amount of days, what your format. Do you fly down? Do you do like 30,000 foot view? Do you go to the parks every single day? Do you take resort days off? And then once you kind of give us like the structure of the whole trip, then we can dive into the details and stuff like that. So let her rip. When did you go, and how did you decide when to go?
We flew in on Labor Day. So we flew in Monday, and we flew home that following Tuesday. We always just kind of play around with dates and see what's going to get us the cheapest deal.
Sure.
And last year we went on Labor Day, and we noticed that crowds, on Labor Day and the weekend leading up to Labor Day, they kind of sucked, but they weren't terrible.
We went the week after last year on Labor Day. It was awesome.
Yeah, and the crowds are low, so we figured, we'll fly in on Labor Day, because we noticed that the crowds were lower after. So we did that. We had 7 days. We did 2 days at the parks, 1 day off, then another day at the parks, then another day off, and then 2 days at the parks, and then we flew home.
And that's typically how I structure my things if I'm going down for a week. That's a good structure. I like it.
Yeah, we had our 4 and 5-year-old with us, so we tried to plan in as much off time as we could. It was their first time, doing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So
smart.
We tried to build in as much off time as we could in order to kind of give their brains a break, if anything.
Awesome. So, did you do anything the day that you arrived, or is that kind of like ease into the bubble and relax and chill at the resort type of thing?
So the day we got there, we flew in at 5:30, and I'd say we got to Disney around 7-ish.
PM?
Okay.
Just checking.
7 p.m. Yeah, my bad. But we didn't really know what to do. We were we could grab dinner here, we could get on the Skyliner, maybe go grab Boardwalk Pizza. There's options, but we don't want to go too far because, we have an early morning. So we all decided on Boardwalk Pizza. So we jump on the Skyliner, and from the Riviera to Epcot, I was like, you know what, let's just check the window, go ahead and make our mobile order. It'll all be good. And 3/4 of the way there, we realized they didn't have any window openings whatsoever. Yeah, it was such a rarity. We were like, what do we do? And mind you, we have the toddlers, we have the stroller, and I'm already tired of switching with folding up the stroller and everything. So we're like, all right, well, I guess we'll just go back. So we went back. We had dinner at Art of Animation, and then we ended up just going to bed.
Okay. So now you had 2 days in the parks. What did you decide to do day 1, day 2? I'm calling it full day 1, full day 2, right? So day 1, day 2.
Full day 1, we were going to take the day off because we thought about flights and how flights have been crazy stupid. So we were like, we could take the day off. And then like a week before, we were like, no, we can't justify that. We have to get in.
Yes, of course.
Good
drive. I can't imagine like you travel one day. I'm taking the first day off. I'm at Disney World. I'm doing nothing. That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, so we booked Magic Kingdom because we were like, they're open the latest. So, if we get in late, we'll have all that extra time. Blah, blah, blah. We were fine. Our whole flight was fine. It was all great. So first day, we rope dropped Magic Kingdom, and then we hopped to Epcot.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, I forgot that you had hoppers there. So
yeah,
why did you go from the Kingdom to Epcot and not the other way around?
I want to see Harmonious.
Okay, fair enough. That's my favorite fireworks show now, by the way. I don't care about Enchantment anymore.
We didn't even see Enchantment the whole time we were there. We tried to, and every night it... Like, consistently every day, you know how it rains for, like, a half hour at 2 o'clock? And no, it rained from, like, 2 to 5 every day. And it wasn't just, like, a shower. It poured. So anytime we wanted to see Enchantment, it just rained and we gave up. And it wasn't worth staying, so we left.
And you've seen Enchantment before, right? Or no?
No.
Oh, you
no,
haven't?
not at all. I even kept, like, the opening. You know how they made a new opening? I was like, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for when we go. That way there's some element of surprise for me, and we just didn't even go.
See, I mean, that's the only... When we were going down in December, my wife's like, I don't even want to stay for fireworks at Magic Kingdom because I hate the crowds and all this other stuff. Like,
yeah.
I want to be on Main Street because I did not see the Main Street projections the last time I went, and I want to see the new intro. I mean, if we want to leave right after the intro, maybe we can sneak out, right?
Right,
like a train station or something like that. But, no, like, one of my... my appreciations of how I've changed going to the parks, and we've talked about this extensively on my trip report, is I used to be like open to close. Like, we have to stay. I have to get all my dollars worth out of this stuff, and it drove my wife nuts. And I've transitioned after our summer trip this year. Is the middle of the day, I'm going somewhere else. I'm not in the parks between like 11 to 3, 12 to 4, somewhere in that kind of that range. Especially with young kids, that's kind of perfect. So on day 2, you made a hop from Magic Kingdom to Epcot. Did you do monorail over and bus back to the resort? How did you do the transportation?
The monorail was down, so that was fun. Yeah, so we had to catch a bus. Yeah, I was sad. My kids were sad. But yeah, we hopped on a bus, and the kids did awesome. Like, last time I was on with you guys basically just like gave me tips on how to conquer it and everything like that, and like. For all, like, the disappointment I was expecting, they did phenomenal. They napped on the bus. They napped in the stroller. They woke up early with us. They went to bed late with us. Little to no complaint. Like, they did awesome. So that was a very, very huge help to us.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. Day 2, what did you do?
We did Hollywood Studios, and we jumped to Magic Kingdom, I think, yeah.
See, here's the thing, Liz. I love the Skyliner now. I think I'm a Skyliner stan. Like, it's Skyliner, and then monorail's kind of a couple pegs down from that at this point. Yeah. Sorry, Phil. And when I
like the Skyliner too. You don't have to apologize.
So, I mean, but you've got monorail like models all around you. So I'm like, I don't want to insult any treasured treasures. Anyway, the Skyliner, like with hopping, when my wife and I did, we would always hop from Hollywood Studios to Epcot or vice versa with the Skyliner. And I'm looking forward to my next trip because we're staying at Caribbean Beach, and hopping on the Skyliner to everything is so much peaceful. And I can't imagine how awesome that is with like young kiddos. I think that's going to that'd be awesome. So you went from Epcot to Hollywood Studios to the Kingdom. Yep. Why that combination, and what did you accomplish? Are you doing Genie Plus also during your trip?
Yeah, we had Genie. We did Genie Plus the first and second day because those were like the first 4. Well, they're supposed to be the first 4 parks. Mm-hmm. So we did Genie Plus the first 2 days. We pretty much got everything we wanted those first few days. I mean, Genie Plus was okay. I don't know if you guys have used it yet. It wasn't bad.
I wrote a dissertation on my trip. FYI. But no, go ahead. So, what did you use it at Epcot in the morning, and how did you Hollywood Studios in the morning, and how did you use it at Magic Kingdom later that day?
I think we only used it for a couple rides because the plan was to go for Enchantment at Magic Kingdom. And once, after like an hour and a half of it raining, we were like, let's just go. So we just ended up leaving. We were like, enchantment's probably not going to happen. Surprise, it happened. But yeah, we just decided that, if it's going to rain all this time, we're already soaked. Let's just go back. Kind of give the kids an early break because they've been going for 2 whole days. So
And when you're doing the hop, are you going back to the resort in the middle, or are you just going park to park?
I think we went back to the resort that day for like a half hour to an hour just to kind of get a reset.
Mm-hmm.
But the parks did have buses starting at 1:30. All the parks had a bus over to a different park, which was super cool because I didn't think they still had that.
Really, I didn't notice that
Yeah.
when I was there over the summer. That's interesting.
Yeah, because we were trying to hop from Animal Kingdom to Epcot one night, and I was like, well, we could just go to like Animal Kingdom Lodge and then go to Epcot or something close, And then I saw a bus for Epcot, and we went over there, and there was a bus for Epcot, Studios, and Magic Kingdom.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
So day
yeah.
3, you had a day off. What did you
Yep.
do with yourself the whole time?
So my mom lives in Orlando. Well, she lives just south of Orlando. So we met up with her and my little brother, and we did Ohana, and then we did Springs.
Oh,
So
very
we
nice.
we had brunch at Ohana, and then we just went and hung out at Disney Springs for a couple hours.
So, as a veteran of Disney, how much with the kids was it where all you did was basically just like a chill day, right? You spend time with family, it's eating, and maybe a little shopping, but not. It's like a more of a relaxed pace for the most
Right.
part. How did you like that compared to other trips where it's just like you didn't have? I don't want to call it a handicap with children, but it really is a handicap in a golf sense, Phil. In a golf sense, right? It's like it puts other considerations in your mind as you're trudging through all the different parks. So, how did that feel to you having that day off where you just kind of really didn't do anything, but you still were in the Disney bubble?
I think it felt the same as a park day. Like I said, the kids were. I literally can't talk well enough about how they did. Like I
That's
feel
awesome.
like we would have done the same thing had we not had the kids. We got all the rides we needed to. With Genie Plus, we didn't have to worry about waiting too long and them getting fussy. And if we got in a line and we realized it was going to be a wait, we packed their fire tablets. So if we were waiting more than 20 minutes, we let them have them.
Oh, that's good. That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
now we're at what, day 4? It's your middle, basically,
Yep.
of the week. Did you do 2 parks again, or did you do 1 park?
we did Epcot, Animal Kingdom. My wife was determined to go to Animal Kingdom, so we did Epcot. The first day we did Epcot, like when we jumped to Epcot, the kids were begging to do Test Track. So we were like, all right, we'll get a lightning lane for it. Well, it went down. So then we had to like plan B mode and get all that done. So then we got another one later in the night. Well, it rained again. So like the kids never got to ride Test Track, and that's literally all they wanted to do.
Oh,
So our Epcot day, we got a Guardians virtual queue. We got like 21 or 29 or something like that. So we rope drop Test Track again, and we got there, and they're like, oh, we have a delayed opening. And I was like, we are standing in this line. I do not care. So we only sat there for like 20 minutes. We did that. We rode Guardians. We ate at Via Napoli, and then we jumped to Animal Kingdom.
I mean, it's interesting that you're doing Epcot in the mornings. I keep thinking that you're doing Epcot instead of Hollywood Studios. I don't know why I'm thinking that, because that's what I did my trip. I'm just it's in my brain. Anyway, okay, so you went to Animal Kingdom in the evening or in the afternoon. Did you do that on purpose because you knew that the crowds are low and you can get the whole park done in the
Pretty
evening?
much.
Yep.
Yeah, and my wife was just concerned because we only had that one morning at Epcot, like on our last days, or that one morning at Animal Kingdom, I'm sorry, on our last day. So she was like, I at least want to get there again just to like get some things done, just in case we don't get anything done. And like,
Is that her favorite park?
Her favorite attraction was Flight of Passage before she rode Guardians. So like,
Same for me.
she
Yeah.
wanted to make sure she got that done. I get motion sick really bad, so I was like, I'll just sit out with the kids this go. I don't really care.
So you didn't get to ride on Guardians Cosmic Rewind?
I got to ride, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's.
oh, so the motion sickness, so you didn't do Flight of Passage.
Well, yeah, I learned my lesson on Guardians too. I will not be riding that again. But
Where did you sit? Which car?
I was in the last car. I did not get very lucky. I know that's like one of the worst ones to ride in.
Well, that's the best one to ride in for motion sickness.
Is it?
It is, because you can see things coming, so you can orient. Your brain can orient, knowing what you're coming to. The worst is in the front.
Gotcha.
Supposedly, and I sat in the back once. I sat in the middle once, car number 3. I never got in the front. But supposedly number 3 is less on the motion sickness, but also you get a little bit of the intensity too.
Gotcha.
Because of the darkness of the ride. Hopefully I'm not yell at me, Phil, if I'm spoiling it. I just realized that you're
Right.
avoiding spoilers. But like, you can in the middle of it, when you sit in the middle, you don't see too much ahead of you. So you're still kind of, you get to feel the excitement and the thrills. But
Right.
in any case, so you're getting a lot done at this point. Did you get a lot done in the evening in Animal Kingdom that your wife wanted to get done?
Yeah, she got Everest and Flight of Passage, and one of our kids was asleep, so I think she took one of them on Kilimanjaro Safari. My main goal was that if one kid was asleep, I was going to sit out and have a beer while she did whatever she wanted to with the other kid, because I was like, I'll hang out. I don't care. So...
And Animal Kingdom's the best park to do that in my opinion, because it's a gorgeous park, right?
Yeah, I agree. So I sat out with napping toddlers, and I think she rode Kilimanjaros with him. And we rode Dinosaur together. And then we went back to Epcot for Harmonious.
Okay. Is this the second time you've seen Harmonious? I'm not keeping track.
No, this is the first time.
Okay. So
we saw Harmonious.
What did you think of? What did everybody think of the barges in the show?
We were like front and center in the lagoon. Our oldest just got tubes put in his ears, so he's like super sensitive to hearing.
Ooh, okay.
So he covered his ears, put his little awning down on his car seat, or not his car seat, his stroller, and he went to sleep.
Okay.
So there's that, and then the other kid, I think he liked it. So I loved it. I think it was awesome. I would definitely want to go back again and maybe have a different spot, but I enjoyed it.
See, I'm kind of sad that they were talking about Harmonious leaving, or at least temporarily, because I really like that show. The barges really don't bother me, and I think like the music and everything. It's really, the only complaint is, as everybody says, the ending. It could be tuned up a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I got down there at least once to see it. I'll obviously see it again in December, but as of right now, there's no fireworks show. And Phil, correct me if you disagree with me. Let me know. There's no fireworks show that I have to see when I go down there. That's part of my nostalgia. It was Happily Ever After. That's the thing I had to see. Now, if I leave before fireworks because my wife's like, I'm tired, let's go back. I'm like, okay, that's not a big deal because I'm not missing anything. Is there a must for you, Phil, to stay in the evening for any particular reason?
Well, it was Harmonious, and it definitely will be Harmonious in December because I want to see it one last time.
Right.
But definitely not Enchantment. I mean, I was already talking about like, well, what are the things we can do while Enchantment's going on, and we can ride rides and stuff like that. And I guess if eventually, I know it's not a fireworks show, but if Phantasmic comes back, that's kind of a must. That's kind of a must do for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
No, I agree. Knowing that Harmonious might go away by the time I get back, right? I think I'm definitely going to go see it when we're there. And I think I got my plans here. I think we're at Epcot together on the 12th, on that Monday. We both have Epcot days. Maybe we can chill and watch fireworks with our families and say goodbye to the show because we're probably not going to go back until once it's all gone.
With a tear in our eye.
Maybe we can get friend of the show Zach to come in the day that we're there because that's where we watched Harmonious together over there too, and he really likes that show. So in any case, okay, so now we got your second day that you have off, right? So what is more family time? Is it like chill time? What did you guys do?
The plan was finish up shopping at Disney Springs because we didn't get to do all of it because once again it rained for hours. But my mom and brother came back. We finished up there. The plan was to swim, but it rained for like 2 or 3 hours. So I was like, why don't we just go and do a monorail loop? Because we're out of the rain, it'll be fine. So we ended up doing that. Once the rain kind of subsided, we let the kids play on the beach because my brother's 4. So like he's the same age as my kids. So we just let him play on the beach. I got a tiki mug. And yeah, that's pretty much all we did because by the time we were done with the monorail loop, it was probably like 7.
Okay.
So we were like, yeah, we should probably, just head home or head back to the resort and kind of cool off.
Phil, what is your go-to activity on a day? Like you've designated day as a resort day, right? And it's raining. It's like the dreary rain that you know it's going to rain all day. It's not like the Florida rainstorm type of thing that you know that in 2 hours you got sunny skies. What do you like to do with the family, of course, on one of those days?
So I think the resort touring would definitely be an option we would do. There are also some things at Disney Springs. I know I didn't do it, but when the rest of my family was down with other people, they did the bowling there, which I know is really popular, and they have really good food and drinks there and
My
stuff
sister
too.
does that.
Yeah, so there's definitely some things there to do too. It's kind of tough because like everything there, even if the activity you're doing might be inside, you're going to be outside to get to it. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like you could go to like a big indoor mall or something like that. So yeah, I think the resort job, especially the monorail, is a great idea because you can kind of be pretty much inside the whole time and like yeah, check out the different bars or just the gift shops. You know, like the monorail resorts have kind of more theming to like their gift shops and things like there's just a lot to see in those resorts. And even just around the monorail. I mean, you could just do that over take the Epcot line, right? And like do the little tour of World Celebration or whatever and stuff like that. So I think those are the types of things we do. We still try to get our Disney in a little bit, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'd fit in some nap time as well. But.
I like it. So actually, we've got 2 more days, correct? How did you finish strong on this vacation?
Finished strong with Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom. The boys never got to ride Slinky Dog. They were super excited. It was down all day the first day we went, so went back, made sure to get on Slinky Dog, had lunch at Sci-Fi, met up with a friend who was a cast member. And then we jumped to Magic Kingdom so we could see Festival of Fantasy and finished up anything we didn't really get to do.
Did you accomplish everything that you wanted to do at Magic Kingdom? Because this is like the 3rd or 4th.
Yeah, this is like the 3rd day. I did not expect to go to Magic Kingdom that much, but it was just easy because the kids could go on everything.
Yeah.
The only thing they couldn't go on was Space Mountain, and my friend used to work at Space Mountain as of like a month ago. So like she still knew people over there, so we went ahead and rode Space twice.
Oh, nice.
While they did something else,
All about
and
who you
then yeah, truly it is.
And your last day?
Our last day was Animal Kingdom to Epcot because my wife wanted to ride Guardians again.
See, the wife and I almost went and did Guardians 3 times, but the virtual queue was like too close to Harmonious start time. We're like, no, I'm not missing it. We're just gonna have drink and snacks around the World Showcase while we wait. So we would have had 3 times on that. What songs did you get, or did your wife get on Guardians?
I only rode the one time, and I got Iran. She got September the first time. Mind you, the 4-year-old, 5-year-old now, he got to ride 3 times because he got to rider swap with us.
Oh, nice.
And he loved it. So the first time my wife was like holding on to him, checking him, making sure he was cool with the whole thing because that was like the most intense ride he rode. So she was like, I want to ride it again because I feel like I didn't enjoy it enough. Like I had to worry about him, so like I want to ride again. So and that was our main focus that last day was getting a Guardians virtual queue. And I thought the second drop was at 2, so I was like, let's get in line for the bus at 1, so we can get over there. Well, the buses don't run until 1:30, and the virtual queue opens up at 1. Ooh. So we got there, like, right at 2, and she was still able to join the virtual queue.
They're really lenient on that. They really say that they're going to be strict. They'll let you on there. They're not going to. It's a cast member. Unless you're, like, assuming that you're a nice person and you're being pleasant, and, well, they'll be fine. But if you come and say, I'm late, you need to let me on. They're like, nope, sorry. Done.
Yeah,
but just be a good human being.
She got into the line, or she like joined the virtual queue at 2, and she got a time for like 8:30.
Yeah.
So we essentially ate and drank around the world, and just kind of knocked out whatever we could.
All right, so I got 2 overarching questions. Then we're going to do our rankings, or our takes, I should say. Did I get that right, Phil? I'm screwing up your thing.
It's our takes.
Our takes. Yes. Okay. Overarching on your trip, actually. Were hoppers worth it, or was it just too much running around that you were busy doing the logistics and not being able to enjoy your time with the 2 little kiddos?
No, I think that the park hoppers were definitely worth it. Had the kids not been so mellow and just go with the flow, I think that my answer would definitely be different, but they were cool as a cucumber the whole time, so I think that definitely played a big factor into us just kind of being able to do our own thing. So I think the park hoppers were definitely worth it because we got to do whatever they wanted and whatever we wanted.
Phil, I'm like really tempted to get hoppers for my trip coming up, but I also don't want to spend another $900 to upgrade our ticket package for that. So that money's going to, I think, the party down there. You said you only got GD Plus for the 2 days?
We got GD Plus for 3, so we got it for the first 2 days and the last day at Animal Kingdom, just in case we didn't get anything we wanted.
Would you buy GD Plus again?
With the kids, yes, because that cut out a whole lot of waiting for us.
One tip for everybody out there, in case you didn't hear it the last time, it's not worth it at Epcot if you really care about getting on the big rides. However, with the little kids, you can get on like the 15-minute wait for Soarin' or Spaceship Earth, and the wait goes down to 5 minutes. So if you want to save like 5 or 10 minutes for whatever reason, that's what you get with Genie Plus at Epcot by like 4:00. All the other rides are kind of walk-on-ish, but Genie Plus will probably save you if you hit up like Living with the Land, Spaceship Earth, Soarin', and I can't think of one other attraction. If you'll save me out, what am I missing? Like Nemo and Friends or something else? Not Nemo and Friends.
Pigment.
Or
There's Living with the Land, and
in any case, all the attractions on that side of the park, you could probably save a good 20 to 25 minutes waiting. As in a cumulus of all those are different. You're saving 5 minutes per one, so I don't know if that's worth your $50 or whatever it costs for your family to get there. So, anything else you want to add, actually, before we move on? It sounds like an awesome trip. Looks like you were extremely successful, and you had a good time.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Like I said, I mean, everything went very smoothly. I went in expecting disappointment, so like I wouldn't be disappointed, and like everything exceeded my expectations.
That's
so
awesome.
That was what I needed.
Love to hear when trips kind of, because it seems like you had a lot of logistics, right? You had to plan what parks you wanted to go to, when you wanted to go. So there's like, I had a whole diatribe about project managing your vacation, where it took a lot of enjoyment. I was nuts with Genie Plus when I went down, because that's how my brain works. And if anybody's curious, go back. I don't know, probably 4 or 5 episodes, Phil, where we talked about that, whether or not you were wavering on how to do Genie Plus for your upcoming trip type of thing. That being said, let's get to our last segment before we wrap this up. This is our takes on Disney snacks, where we go and we pick one thing that's overrated, one thing that's properly rated, and one thing that's underrated. And this week is Disney snacks. This is not relegated to a park or anything else. It's just everything that's on property. Phil, I'm going to have you go first so Ashley can have a second to kind of collect her thoughts, because I see her. She's looking up. She's thinking. Phil, I want you go first, as this was your ranking or your subject matter. So go ahead.
Sure. So for my overrated, which I'll probably get some slack for, I picked the Mickey Premium Ice Cream Bar. People just go nuts for those and like have to have them, and I know they give them away at like some of the after hours events, and people get like 20 of them and stuff like that. I think they're fine, but it's just like a vanilla ice cream bar that you can get kind of anywhere. It just happens to be Mickey shaped, and now you can even get them in the grocery store that are Mickey shaped.
They're smaller in the grocery store.
They're smaller.
It's like $20
sure.
for 4 of them at ShopRite.
But I just think I don't get the draw. Like I don't get, like, we might get one, we might not. I don't know. But some people feel like it's like a must do for their vacation, or their vacation is ruined.
The worst part about the Mickey bar form factor is if you bite the wrong underside of the ears, it starts dripping.
Oh, it like all falls apart too.
And that's happened to my children. So my daughter's favorite ice cream is the orange, Minute Maid orange, kind of like Italian ice type of thing, whatever you want to call it. She's obsessed with them. She just skips the Mickey bar entirely. Okay, so properly rated. Sorry.
So my properly rated, I actually gave Dole Whip, and I'm kind of including all the different types of Dole Whip that are around property. So they have all the different floats. They have, an Animal Kingdom. You can get them with rum and things like that. I just think there's so many different options. They're kind of in like every park. You could do it a lot of different ways, and I know a lot of places have something similar to Dole Whip now, but it still feels very Disney to me. It kind of feels like when you're in Adventureland and stuff like that. So I know some people aren't as big into them, but I think when you take it collectively, all the different flavors they have now around the parks, that everybody can find something they like, and so to me it's properly rated.
Okay.
And my underrated one, I sort of put a location, L'Artisan des Glaces. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's the ice cream place in France. They have a couple things that we really like there. The croque glacé, which is where you get the ice cream in the warm bun, or I always get the ice cream martini, which I don't know if that qualifies as a snack or not. But yes, I just think it's really good. It's kind of out of the way. So it's like down this alley. So you're kind of immersed in the area. It's something a little bit different, but still, ice cream and stuff like that, which kind of, a lot of people like ice cream on vacation. And I just think a lot of people don't know about it, but it's good, something a little bit different. And a lot of times I'll walk around with one of them and you get people like, wait, what's that? Where'd you get that? And that sort of thing. So that's my underrated one.
I like that underrated one. I'm going to put that on my list for next time I go down there. Because you can always get the family to eat ice cream. Not so much some of the other things in the World Showcase, but definitely if there's ice cream involved, everybody's happy. Ashley, do you want to go now or do you want to go last? Your choice.
I'll go now.
Okay. So let's start with your overrated Disney snack.
Overrated is gonna be. I don't have an overrated, but I have a.
I thought you were
neutral
ready.
Rated. I have them in my head. I just have to get them out.
Okay.
So like my one that's like neutral rated is the Wookiee cookie.
I
It's
think
fine.
I haven't had that. Okay.
Everyone says it tastes like a giant oatmeal cream pie. That's 100% true. It tastes like that. It's fine. It's big. It feeds the whole family.
Okay.
And it works.
So you've got an underrated and maybe a potentially overrated, underrated one. What do you got?
Yeah,
what do you got
so
for us?
my underrated is tachos at Woody's Lunchbox. I feel like those don't get enough love. They get a lot of love, and they need more.
I've never eaten there because it's been a crowded. I don't want to call it a cesspit, but it's just a bunch of sweaty people around such a small quick service area that I'm like, I'm not going in there.
And you got to like plan your early for the mobile order there because those slots go quick. You can't like decide like, hey, let's go get Woody's Lunchbox. Like, oh, there's something available 6 hours from now. Great.
And hopefully the new restaurant helps.
Well, and you can order normally there now too.
Yeah.
Like you can just walk up to the window. So that works.
Do you have an
My
overrated?
neutral rated.
No, you had
it,
neutral
and now
rated,
it's
right?
just gone.
yeah.
Yeah. My
Overrated.
overrated.
No?
I had it and it was gone. Where'd it go?
Oh, think about it. I'm going to go then.
Go.
So my overrated, just to match Phil's perfectly rated, is the Dole Whip. It's good, right? It tastes good. Everybody enjoys it when they eat it. I just don't see what the big deal is. I know, Phil, it's tied to nostalgia and memories and all this other stuff. I get that. And that's not what I'm talking about because it's hard to beat that. But everybody goes nuts for this stuff. There's like recipes online and how to recreate it and all this. I'm like, guys, it's pineapple ice cream soft serve. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, okay, that's great. I've only ordered it because everybody else says they have to get their Dole Whip in the park. So, all right, I'll join in the fun. But I'm never like super excited to kind of get it. My properly rated one is like a Mickey pretzel because you can't beat a pretzel. It's easy. You break it up, family can share it, that type of thing, and it's a good pretzel. It's not fantastic. It's not terrible. It's a good pretzel, right?
It shuts everyone up.
So exactly, and it's bread, so it keeps you going, get some carbs going. So I think it's right because no one raves about it, but everybody likes it, right? So that's kind of what my metric is. And then my underrated is the Jack Daniel's slushie that you can get at Hollywood Studios, right outside of Hollywood and Vine. So anytime you can put Jack Daniel's and I can sit there scooping it up, watching Goofy and Max play on the grass, I'm having a good time. So like my kids are sitting there eating ice cream. I got my Jack Daniel's thing going on here, so I'm pretty happy. I had some overrated runners up because I mean I like saying Dole Whip because I just want the social media clicks, people getting angry at me. I find that funny. But two other things that I really think are overrated that aren't very good is Casey's. I don't think is very good. I don't want to eat a giant hot dog on a hot day. With crowds of people around me, with all the cheese and everything else that goes on. That's just a heavy meal. I put that on par with like the turkey leg you see people eating. It's just like, I like a good turkey leg. I don't think any people are like raving about it, so that's why it's not rated at all in my book. But Casey's, everybody goes crazy about, and I'm like, whatever.
I'll take a turkey leg at the state fair.
It's more of a gimmick than like you really want to eat it, right? And then the other thing that I have overrated, and I couldn't decide which one, was also the popcorn. I don't like.
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Buttered popcorn in the heat. It typically gives me a headache. I don't really get the motivation to get all the popcorn buckets and got to eat popcorn. That's something to me. A lot of people love doing that. I mean, I'm not criticizing. I just think it's like I don't understand why it's a big thing. So Ashley, before we wrap up, did you come up with an overrated snack?
I did. Not at the parks, but the pork nachos at Captain Cook's and the Polynesian. Everyone was always like, those are so good, you have to try them. And I don't think they're great.
Okay. I've never had them, so I don't know.
I've had them. I think they're great.
Uh-oh.
But no, but that's all right. No, I can understand, but I do think they're pretty great.
See, like it just goes to show that food is really tied to who you eat it with, when you've eaten it, and how many times you've done it over the years, because again, it's all tied into like, oh, those nachos were really good. Well, maybe the nachos weren't really good, but you had a great morning. It was the first time your kid went on Space Mountain, and you have some amazing pictures right after that, and you just remember Space Mountain, awesome morning, and I had those really cool nachos. And then all of a sudden, those nachos become this big thing that you have to eat again because that's your good luck charm to having a good afternoon, right? You got to have those nachos. And I think that's how things build up, right? So they're better up in your head. You come back, and Disney's typically good about it tastes the same way the next time you go there. So I think it's all kind of tied into each other. Not that I'm saying, Phil, that you're being fooled by your love for these pork nachos, but on a larger scale, I think
sometimes too, it's also how hungry you are when you have it.
That's like very true.
If you haven't had anything to eat in a while and it's been a hot day, and then you get into some air conditioning and some pork nachos, those are going to taste pretty darn good.
It's just like when you go to the food store when you're hungry, right? You get home,
exactly.
What did I just buy? What's wrong with me? Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Ashley, thank you for coming on as you're drinking water for those that are listening. I caught you off guard.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep, and we'll promote your stuff and your podcast. Once again, where can they find you, Ashley, online?
Skyliner Views, all one word, just like the Disney Skyliner, everywhere. Every social media you can think of, except Be Real. There's a new social media called Be Real. I'm not hip enough for it.
No, me neither.
Yeah, same. So yeah, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that. Skyliner Views.
All right, and make sure you hop on Discord. Check out the forums that are now on.
Let us know what you think.
Yes, I can change it all back. Don't everybody get scared. It's not deleted or anything else like that. We'll see how the conversation evolves. After a week or two, we'll give it a shot. That being said, guys, thank you for watching and listening. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing, and all that nice stuff. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
See ya.